McGregor's theory X and theory Y looked at two extremes of how to approach management and gives us some good early clues as to both our management style and how appropriate it is as a sales manager in your particular situation. This approach was further developed by Robert Blake and Jane Mouton, who produced a very famous tool which many people still find very useful today, and it's called the management grid. One of the beauties of the grid is that it provides a map on which we can plot an infinite number of different management styles, although Blake and Mouton identified 5 key ones. So this map or grid looks at 2 dimensions. The first dimension is when we're going about our management activities, how much concern we have for people. That is their feelings, their emotions, their well-being. And the second dimension is, again, when we're going about our management activity, how much concern we have for the task, for achieving results. And these 2 dimensions fit quite nicely with our definition of management, which is achieving desired results through the efforts of others. So there is always something about achieving the task, the desired result, in our case making sales, but it's through others. So there is always some kind of concern for people in everything that we do. So I can look at all of my various management activities, how I'm allocating accounts or targets, running sales meetings, completing a forecast call, doing an appraisal, going out on a sales call to either wave the flag or to do some coaching. These are just examples, but in each case, I can approach that activity with higher or lower concern for the individual or the team, and a higher or lower concern for achieving the best results. And what Blake and Mouton did is they said, at any time, for any activity, you can be anywhere on this grid, and you may move around, both generally and specifically in different situations. But we all have preferences, and we are all more comfortable operating in certain ways. So Blake and Mouton identified 5 specific positions on the grid, and let me just run through them briefly. The 1-9 management style is sometimes referred to as the country club style, and it's where the concern for results is low, but the concern for people is high. With this approach, the sales manager believes that if people are happy, they will somehow get work done. They'll somehow achieve some good things. So he or she places really high value on maintaining good relationships, prefers to accept other people's positions rather than pushing his or her own views. The 1-9 manager tries to avoid conflict if it arises, and they smooth feelings. He or she reacts to people in a warm, friendly way. Overall, an extremely supportive manager. And clearly there are some environments when this can work. If you have very highly motivated people who are extremely competent with a strong sense of direction and knowing their boundaries, then this can work really well. But there are obviously big dangers for the 1-9 management style, certainly in most sales teams, because although everybody may appear happy or content, there's little challenge, there's little driving forward, there's little change. Blake, by the way, gives this style the motto, "Nice guys don't fight." As with all styles that we will discuss, there are pros and cons, and I'll leave it to you to discuss with your coach what is most appropriate for you in your situation. The 1-1 management style. So this is where there's low concern for people and low concern for getting results. People call this the hippie style of management, where the manager has effectively dropped out, will accept the decisions of others, avoids taking sides, avoids conflict, passes the buck as much as possible, and just carries out a function. Now, there is some merit to the 1-1 style in some situations, because it means that you can effectively take yourself out of the management role and sidestep issues. And I'm sure you can think of some situations where this may be the smart thing to do. For example, where you're not well prepared, where there are no good outcomes immediately available, where emotions are running very, very high. But generally, the 1-1 style, if you are using it heavily, kind of raises questions about your suitability for management, certainly your suitability for the particular situation that you're in. The 9-1 management style. So this is where there's high concern for results, for getting things done, and at the same time, there's quite a low concern for people. The 9-1 is an autocrat. They place high value on making decisions that stick. And they're very assertive, actually quite aggressive, and they're not afraid to ruffle feathers. Blake and Mouton talked about this style as produce or perish, and many of us will have seen this style adopted by some, not all, but some old school sales managers. You can see that sometimes a 9-1 style is going to be very appropriate. The typical example always given is in the military, or maybe firefighters tackling a large blaze, where the leader to take absolute control and issue instructions without discussion is almost certainly going to be the style that's most effective. It's interesting though that, particularly in the military, they know that for this style to be effective when it's needed, they have to do a lot of very other things with different management styles when they're not at that point of having to take action. Blake gives this manager the motto, "Nice guys finish last." And clearly a 9-1 manager is not bothered about others in the team not thinking they're nice. They can get results in the short term, but there's always going to be long-term consequences. And most of us understand that managing through fear, managing just by being authoritarian, is not going to get the best out of people in the long run. In the 5-5 management style then, the concern for results and the concern for people is reasonable. In fact, 5-5 managers often see themselves as balancing these two concerns. 5-5 managers search for workable, pragmatic, though not perfect solutions. So communications tend to be reasonably good in a 5-5 environment, and people will not be unhappy, and results should be okay. For some people, a 5-5 management style appears very reasonable. And it is true that it's not bad, and indeed our ability to sometimes adopt a 5-5 style can be quite beneficial, and I'll come back to this later. The big problem with the 5-5 style, obviously, is that you're not going to maximise results, and you're not going to maximise people's motivation either. So if our job is to achieve desired results through the efforts of others, you're not going to do the best possible job. And in the increasingly competitive world that we all inhabit, some teams and some managers who are not managing their outcomes, potentially, they will face difficulties. So turning to the 9-9 style, which Blake and Mouton sometimes call the team style. So clearly this is where concerns for both results and people, they're both high. The manager places really high value on obtaining sound, creative decisions, resulting in understanding and agreement. The 9-9 manager is normally a good listener, seeks out ideas and opinions from others, but is not afraid to take the tough decisions. The 9-9 manager will accept that conflicts sometimes happen, but will identify and resolve conflicts. So, some people would say that this is a true win-win style of management, and indeed, many studies have shown that 9-9 managers in sales are more successful overall. But there are some issues with 9-9 managers because they do tend to be perfectionists, always striving to get the best results and have the best relationships. And sometimes this is either just not possible or not worth the effort. If you are largely a 9-9 manager, you may also want to think about sometimes moving to, say, a 5-5 position. Perhaps when the issues are not hugely important in the grand scheme of things, and also in situations where people risk being overwhelmed or burnt out, because of the pressure that you can put on them to keep being the best. So, I've only given a very high-level overview of the management grid. There's lots and lots of resources if you do a Google search, and we put some of them in the further resources section here. But hopefully you have enough to start thinking about your own management style. What is good about it? What is maybe not so good about it? And particularly how you may want to flex it. By flex, I mean flex overall, but also in particular situations. So, for example, if you're a largely 9-9 manager, sometimes you may want to go to 9-1, for example, when you're in emergency situations. Sometimes you may want to move to a bit more to 1-9, where there are particular people issues, either with the individual or with the team as a whole, and you certainly might want to fairly frequently back off your 9-9 style and be a little bit more relaxed with more of a 5-5 style. For many sales managers, especially new ones looking to define their management style, the key learning arising from the management grid is that however task or however people orientated your natural style is, you should rarely look to be less task or less people focused. In fact, you probably want to keep increasing both while also developing the ability to move around the grid and to suit particular situations. So in the next lesson, we've included a questionnaire which can help you determine your own preferred style. I would really encourage you to look at it, and it's something that you can give to other people, salespeople in the team, other managers, your boss, etc., to get their perspectives on the management style that you exhibit. Whether or not you complete the questionnaire, I certainly strongly recommend that you discuss this tool with your coach, in particular what your natural preferred style is and the degree to which you can flex at that in different situations. I found the best way to do this is to talk through some actual examples of things that have happened to you to both better understand your style, but also how you might want to adapt it. We hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful in developing your sales management skills. It's one of a series designed to help aspiring, new or developing sales managers. Please subscribe to get access to all of the tutorials in the series and to get news of new ones added. You can also go to www.realsalesmanager.com, where you'll find lots of other activities and resources, as well as guides suggesting the best sequence in which to listen to or watch these tutorials.